morning, everyone, and a happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Sterling for special Father's
The
Day. We brought Maggie up.
non-fathers.
We brought yes, exactly. Well, you are a mother.
Well,
I asked you. I want to know if you tortured Tom for Father's Day, but he's gone. That's
he's
kinda,
gone. I mean, the girls FaceTimed him while he's in England and sang him a very cute song, and that was all the torturing he got.
You know, it's not right because I don't think they celebrate Father's Day over in
They
England. So if
don't.
he's over there, he should get nothing.
It's all about being present, the location.
Exactly. If you're not in America,
I
he's
admit,
out.
He was like having lunch with friends this morning, and they were like, "What are they talking about?"
There you
So,
go. I hear
American
you. Anyway,
Father's Day.
we always like Father's Day here. It's a fun day. We've got the giveaway of the tote bag, which is actually very nice. We have one
Yeah.
down here.
Did we?
We do. We
Okay,
do.
thanks.
No,
No.
I'm stealing this, Maggie and I will be fighting for it. Maggie will have it if we're fighting for it. Anyhow, looking forward to today's card. We've got a 9-race card to talk about. Head on over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, use the promo code BONUS200, and we will match the $200 of your initial deposit. We also have, we have all sorts of fun stuff going on today. Well, the middle, what would a day be without a discussion of the middle pick four, 2, 3, and 6 for the pick fours. We've also got a 5,000, that's the free-to-play games. Free-to-play.nairabets.com. Head on over, no registration required. Now I think we'll talk about that $5,000 hit and split. It's both here and Monmouth, the late pick fives, $2,500 each. Hit them through Naira Bets as long as you've opted in. And you, too, can finish last along with Giants Causeway over in the Prince of Wales at Ascot. Classic Causeway. Giants Causeway.
He would actually may have won that.
He had
Did
his
he
big
win
matchups with no, Fantastic Light and Galileo. Or did he run?
Oh
no,
man, I can't remember.
He was, his Tiznow, his Breeders' Cup against Tiznow
Yeah.
was one of the great Breeders' Cup classics
was.
of all time. So instead of running in the John Nehru here in a couple of weeks to see if he could be a Grade 1 type horse on 7 furlongs in the dirt, he'll run last over in Ascot this week. And Maggie will be over at Ascot too to witness it in person. What else do we have? The show 1 to 5:30 FS2. I think we're also on FS1
I think that's wrong.
for. Yeah.
I think that's possibly
I
wrong.
have a
that
rundown
one.
here.
There was
We're-
a late change, so maybe we should just take that slate down.
We are on. Yeah, take that down. We're on FS2 from 1 to 1:30 and 3:30 to 5:30, and FS1 from 4 to 5. So we're on SNY.
SNY for everybody
from,
in
You'll be
tri-state
able to watch
area.
SNY 1:30 to 4,
Mhm.
so you can watch it if you have SNY, and otherwise the Naira YouTube channel. Yeah, let's not use that slate at the end of the show unless we get an updated slate. Race number 1, they've got 5 2-year-olds going in race number 1, and a $600,000 Tappet for Todd Pletcher, who will probably win at a short price. And Ira Ortiz off his 5-win day yesterday. All over bet, all won. Weird, right?
I agree.
Just sort of weird. You don't expect to
Okay.
see Tappets in 5-furlong races this early, right?
Right, and I mean, this must be a good-looking type of horse, but there really isn't that much pedigree on the bottom side to bring 600,000.
They paid $400,000 for the first foal. It's an unraced into mischief.
They must be good-looking types, but I mean, the Dam, she was a greatest stakes winner, but on the synthetic and like
Turf
you
and
said,
synthetic, kind of 80 Bayerish horse.
Right.
And, I mean, I can't imagine that Todd is running this horse at 5 furlongs early if he's just a slow plodding type. So
yeah, I mean, you
she
and I
must
had
be
the
ready to
same
roll.
thought.
I just wanted to bet against her, and you're going to take the 2. I like fun size.
No, I took the 5.
No, I'm saying I'm just trying to
Oh.
figure out the name of the 2.
Oh, okay.
I like fun size. What does that mean?
Fun size candies?
Oh, are they candy? There's a candy, and I've never heard of it.
No, just like fun size candies. You
Oh,
know,
the little
like
ones?
sticker.
Little
Yeah.
candies? I like the bigger candies, so
Yeah.
that's why I've never heard of it.
I like the king size or the sharing size.
Right, the giant size. We got gifts. You see, we got some candies from Hawaii. One of our fans
What?
came by and gave you and
Oh.
gave one for you guys in your office and one for me.
Acacia must be hoarding them.
She's probably
No,
not
I'm kidding.
Acacia. She's very tricky. You got to be careful with her with the candies. We both took looks first. I mean, I don't know about you. This horse actually has some pedigree to be a runner and has some good work. So I just took as the
That's
alternative.
exactly the way I saw it, because you're going to get a much better price. And, it does feel like when Dave Donk reaches out to the Johnny Velasquez, that he does like a horse.
And when he's running one this early, they're usually pretty good and
Exactly.
something. And I think a lot of people, you don't think of Dave Donk with 2-year-olds, but over the years, he's good with 2-year-old horses. Doesn't have a lot of them. I mean, you're going
Right.
to have some that just aren't very good.
Right.
But we've seen some. I go way back, and I remember Ordway. Ordway who won our Champagne
Way back.
I
beyond
believe I
me.
lost a big bet on Ordway in a maiden race. He was 5-1 to a Wayne Lucas. Huge price firster going. I mean, Ordway was mid 90s, I want to say, kind
Yeah.
of before your time.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we'll see what happens. Always like to see the 2-year-old starting out, but I don't think any of us are going to be surprised when Wine on Tap wins.
Right. I just thought it just had the look of a race where that horse was going to be overbet, and why not take an alternative, because there were some holes that we obviously poked through with that first.
Nice. We were talking about before we came on a couple of nice first-time starters on yesterday's card. The Donegal horse, Donegal Forever.
Yeah.
That stumbled out of the gate. Irad did an incredible job
Staying
just staying on the horse, getting back on, I should say, the horse.
Out of
Ran
the
an
iron.
89 buyer as well. And one of the things I thought was so impressive was not just Irad getting back on him, but the way after all of that, the horse just got himself in the race without, he was incredibly professional.
Exactly.
That horse.
Like just finding his stride so effortlessly, as you said, getting into the race too.
And you look at a horse like that, and it's obviously too late for them to be looking at races like the Travers. It's middle of June. I guess you look at a horse like that, and I suppose if things work out, maybe the Pennsylvania Derby is the first big stop. But you run an 89 figure. I mean, to put it into perspective, it's not that far off of the Belmont Stakes figures for a first-time starter. And Mischievous Angel, that 6 furlong Peter Brandt expensive buy, the first race for Chad Brown, got an 87 buyer going
That's
6 on the
huge.
turf.
Yeah.
Very different animal, but that's a big fig for a horse to run first time out. So we're seeing some nice horses, even though we're in that lull period. You think of it as a lull period. There's still some pretty big races yesterday, and you missed a terrific Bed of Roses yesterday.
Obviously I watched the replay, but it was good to see Goodnight Olive obviously not have an encumbered trip and get clear and kick on. But how about Wicked Halo?
I agree, and Caramel
coming
Swirl.
back-
Coming
right.
back, almost won the race again. This is not Wicked Halo of last year. She was a good horse last year. She's gotten better.
She's gotten bigger, stronger. This is her year to shine, and she's getting to do so. She's just meeting a very tough division.
And
this year.
Echo Zulu is waiting in the wings, who ran so well in the winning colors, so it bodes well looking towards the ballerina. Chad Brown was talking, I was reading some of the articles, they could potentially stretch out Goodnight Olive in the Molly
She
Pitcher.
always has looked like she could.
I guess
to
they
me,
want at
but-
some point to take give it a try.
Yeah.
I guess if it works out, I guess there's nothing lost if they try.
And then you come back to the ballerina going 7.
They could go ballerina,
Yeah.
see where they go, and obviously the goal for her is another Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Race number 2 is an interesting race, and I thought there were a lot of potential players in here. We'll start out with Pleasant Passage, who you've got on top, and I'll show her second place finish behind the talent. Is Mediate the winner of this race come back at all over in Europe? Do you know if she has?
Where are we here?
We're looking at the Breeders' Cup.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't look it up. Sorry.
Neither did I. It just occurred to me.
Yeah, that's a great question.
She was good last year. Lasix for the first time. I didn't think she ran that well at Keeneland last time, but maybe she
didn't.
needed a
That
race.
was a weird race. I
Yes,
mean,
I
looking
agree.
at oh gosh, Be Your Best.
Be Your
coming
Best
back
had a
and running-
worse trip, though.
She had a worse trip. I do agree with you, but it felt like there was some maybe her not handling the course, needing one. To me, it kind of looked like Pleasant Passage needed one, and I just thought that too. Putting John Velasquez aboard. Look, Jimmy Toner's horse on the outside for the flag looks like the fastest horse.
Oh,
but
I agree.
Don't you think
But she's going
putting
to sit second.
Johnny on right? This horse is going to be more forward, Pleasant Passage. So I opted to take her to hopefully get her back on track today, and I feel like that's what's happening. Getting Lasix here for sure.
Listen, I'm not against her at all. She's obviously got talent. It'll be interesting to see what she does. I like Be All. You don't like her at all. By All Means down at Gulfstream.
Andy, when I first went through this race, I had her on top, and then I was like, wait, I don't love the horses she met. She definitely
I
had
agree with that.
trouble. She took
show it.
money that day, and she's another one that now gets Lasix, but May 7th at Gulfstream.
It's a little weird. We'll show the race. She does break slowly. I will tell you, she was best in this race. And the thing that I liked about her as we
Absolutely.
show the stretch run, she really was running at the end of this race. But it is a little odd that she was like, it just seemed unusual to me that Christophe would leave her down at Gulfstream for her first start, but maybe he didn't feel comfortable she'd find a spot up here. I mean, she's a non-winner's of 3, so she'd have to run an overnight stake, and maybe he didn't want to run her in the Bogey.
And what, this condition didn't come up early in the meet? I felt like it did. I don't know.
I don't know that it did.
And look, she's going to finally find a seam
She
here
is
after being
really
she's
running at the
flying.
end.
She's flying, and probably over the Durf which maybe she didn't particularly love, but why was Kristoff willing to run her on that surface too?
I was
there
surprised
too
too.
many question marks for
I was
me.
surprised they stayed down there that long. I don't think they ended up shipping a lot of horses up until the first week of May, so maybe she was like in the tail end of their. Obviously, she was. I mean, this is a horse that was second in a Group 3 over in France, and I think the fillies in France over the last few years have not been overall as tough a group as some other years.
No, I
You think
think
of Rougier coming here off the French Oaks win, and
Yeah.
obviously she was a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like more of the English horses are the ones that you typically want, are the stronger division of horses. It feels like those horses ship to France because they need to, kind of like why they ship to here, they need an easier spot
There's a
sometimes.
pretty good, what's that the French Oaks, that filly Blue Hen, is it Blue Hen something like that? She won the French Oaks this morning at Chantilly, I believe.
Oh,
She
geez.
also won the French Guineas, I want to say.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
check her
don't-
out. There's a thread
okay.
actually about her on Pace Advantage. Somebody put it up, and I was looking, and she won that race this morning. She's so she run there instead of going. She went to stretch out instead of going to the Coronation at Ascot on
Yeah.
Friday, I want to say, right? And that's sort of the female
I believe
version of the St. James's
Palace. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I learned it was the St. James's Palace from you. I took this one on top. I liked her in here, but I'll tell you something. I don't want to just dismiss Veronica Green. I mean, we'll
I
show
really
her win
don't.
2 back. She's fine, and she could be a horse that's improving for Chad Brown. And you want to say, okay, last time. Well, I mean, Consumer Spending, who was one of the overlays of all time and paying $11 yesterday, got a 91 buyer and beating surprisingly in the stake at Monmouth. I mean, she ran behind some pretty good horses in this race.
And last time, it was a slow pace, market segmentation. Obviously, she came back and won the Grade 1 New York. And I just feel like she was completely up against it last time in the Grade 3 Beaugay with the pace. And today, it feels as though she's, not that she's going to get pace to close into, but it's going to be a little bit more honest. And she was a little headstrong at first in that race. I just think that this is obviously a much easier spot than what we've seen her in. And
It's not that much. I mean, Pleasant Pass is pretty good, and by all means could be pretty good. It's an easier spot,
It's
but
an
this
easier
is
spot.
not a soft race.
no, there's 4 major players, and honestly, I took a shot of putting every single one of them on top, but ultimately landed on Pleasant Passage, who I just thought that maybe I'd get the best price on her too.
Are you in the paddock for the first race?
I am.
Second race?
Yeah.
Are you going to interview Jimmy Toner if he's here? I
Ooh,
mean, he's
the
kind of
elusive
abandoned
Jimmy
us.
Toner.
What's that?
He's the elusive Jimmy Toner now.
You got to find him. He came up and visited us on the set one day when he was still here.
Just
I
recently?
No, a
Oh,
bunch
no.
of years ago.
Yeah,
He's
he
the
was always
greatest.
here when he was stabled
I know,
here, but I
he
found that
drove in to come on the set. He didn't even have a horse in.
Oh,
He's such a
he's
good
so
guy.
nice. I love
So
Jimmy.
I think that should be your goal
Okay.
for Father's Day. To
Yeah,
talk
that's
to
my
Jimmy Toner.
challenge. I'll
It's
do
not
it.
a challenge. I mean, it's Jimmy. It's like a challenge. I mean, it's like an honor to talk to him.
Oh, I agree.
He is.
I
He's the
agree.
greatest, nicest guy. He's got
Uh,
87 stakes here named for horses he trained.
Exactly.
I don't think there's any- there's
no other trainer that has that
There's no trainer in the country that has many races named
for horses.
for
that
horses
they,
they
could
trained than Jimmy Toner, which
Yep.
is probably
remarkable.
something that people don't realize. He
Yeah.
trained a lot of good horses, those Darby Dan types and the Phillips and such, and the Memories of Silver family line. Race number 3. So the question in race number 3 is whether or not you're going to take the horse that Maggie took, that's clearly the horse to beat in Ministerial. And this has to be one of the weirdest horses I've ever seen Wesley Ward ship to New York.
He's not your typical Wesley Ward horse. He looks like a slow plotter. So there's that. But I think there's reason to maybe be forgiving of him.
He's
He
way the
only
horse to
has-
beat in here. I'm not forgive. I mean, once his
I mean,
last race, he's going to win
fought
here.
Back. He only legitimately has 3 starts coming in here on a fast, dirt track going a route of ground. And 2 of those 3 he won. And then the other one, it was a hot pace, which he contested, and then we didn't see him for a couple months. So maybe something happened there. I agree that everything behind the 3rd place finisher in that Keeneland race isn't good, but that's why he's dropping to 14. I don't know if that's why he's dropping, but at least he's dropping to a level where it just makes him a lot of sense.
Well,
you went with a horse that's trying to gain
Yeah,
some form. though.
let me just say, what's odd about Ministerial is that nobody claimed him for 15,000 on the synthetic.
Yeah.
And he's clearly just not a synthetic horse. And if you get rid of his synthetic and turf races, He's 2 for 3 and even ran a 70 buyer in his first dirt start. I'd forgotten about this horse when he came and he beat the mighty North Pole that day at Saratoga.
yeah.
I had
I was in the
forgotten
past
who
for
he
that.
was until I sort of looked
That's
at him.
right.
And it's sort of like Wesley's bringing him here, kind of not expecting to bring him home. And he's probably going to win this race at a short price. I thought he had a little bit of an odor to him. And
I can't disagree.
there,
but
there were 2 other horses in here that I could take. I don't want Norgay. I thought
You've had
Norgay
enough
has
of
been
Norgay?
awful in his last 2 starts. You know what's funny? I picked him
agree.
last time thinking
Right.
Centaveo would be the favorite. Centavo. Centaveo is that Dickinson horse. Centaveo, remember?
Yes.
The long distance turf horse
Yeah,
at Michaels. Yeah. I think his form's been terrible. And I think Super Quality is going to refine himself probably for Linda. But I wanted to give.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't trust you. I mean,
I don't
know
trust
have a
him, but
third,
I won't be surprised when he does.
Exactly.
Linda wins with horses like this.
I know, but Arriaga, you expect
I
to
know.
show up. It's
I
not
know.
like
No, I know.
he's not a hot.
Well, he's
not a-
also a very odd horse, especially going a mile.
He must not be able to breathe or something because, yeah, in the mile, I don't.
But Linda's running him in a mile.
Linda knows.
She's no
best.
dummy. As far as Midnight Worker, I don't believe Midnight Worker is going to be 3 to 1 in here. I didn't have any idea David made his horse 3 to 1, and I don't believe
neither.
there's any chance this horse is going to be 3 to 1 for these
Wow.
connections. I mean,
No way.
but something obviously went wrong last time at the start, and the reality is the race 2 back in the slop isn't that bad, and the race 3 back could easily win this race.
Don't you think he's a horse that also he was acting up in the gate, then he just didn't get away that cleanly, alertly, and when he doesn't get up to or on the lead, he just kind of throws in the towel.
Well, I mean, he wasn't. No, I mean, yes, his wins show on the lead, but he was sitting 3rd. I mean, don't you think the Bracciole race is good enough to win here?
That's what I mean. Like he wasn't anywhere near the lead last time, and I think he was just like, "Pfft."
Yeah. I know.
No
I'm
thanks.
just dismissing it, but he's going to be. He's supposed to be
Exactly.
sitting second
He's
here
supposed to be
behind
sitting
Super
second,
Quality.
and that gives him a legitimate chance. So yeah,
I wouldn't bet
am-
him at 3 to 1.
No,
I
I
thought he
can't
was a 5 to
believe-
1 shot. here.
Yeah.
But maybe if David's usually right, and if David's right, I don't want any part of it 3 to 1. Frankly,
No.
I would if Super Quality's a bigger price than him, I would bet him. I just thought he'd be a bigger price than Super Quality. But then again, maybe Super Quality's tough to bet off of those 2 races.
Oof, yeah.
And listen, at the end of the day, Ministerial may just win anyway. I'm not against him. I just didn't want to pick him.
I feel you.
So race number 4, there's not a lot of form in race number 4, and I want to show the race. You've got Vaunted on top, Brandon's War, Tiebreaker, and Vaunted. I thought Tiebreaker absolutely could not lose this race. The winner was the drop down, went to the lead. I think Kendrick rode that horse. Tiebreaker was bad. I mean, he was supposed to win. This was the day he was supposed to win. Now, listen, maybe he'll win today. Maybe it's just not strong a field, but like you, I mean, I don't love Vaunted, but maybe the second time starter will just improve.
I
You
remember
obviously-
the last time we did Talking Horses together for this race.
Did we? Okay, I believe
And
you.
I picked Vaunted that day.
That's right,
and
I do remember that.
just wanted to give him another chance because there's a reason to believe that, and we'll see what they do with Tiebreaker. Tiebreaker could go here, but I just thought that maybe he needed that last race. Bucker 2 was able to wire him as well. And it's not, I mean, Jimmy Ryerson does great work, but it's not often that he does win with a first-time starter. So I was just going to give
He won
Vaunted
with one the
another
other-
chance.
Did he win? Did he win one the other day?
He did, didn't he?
You're right. No, you're right. But did he win with one the other
did.
day?
Didn't he?
I feel like he did. Was it last Sunday?
Maybe. I can't
Was it
remember.
Here, yeah. But you're right. No,
Yeah.
he does not win with a lot of first-time starters. I'm not. No, I don't have a real problem with him. I don't want any of them.
And the thing is that Brennan's War, he probably won the best race with a great trip, ran the best race with a great trip
But
last
he's
time.
0 for
but
14. You want him? Could have him.
Exactly.
Leo won a race and you weren't here for it.
I know.
I know. It's
know.
kind of sad. I was
She's
kind
on
of
fire.
disappointed. I was a little disappointed you weren't here yesterday for that. I just went a little off the reservation here with
Waffler.
Waffler.
Well, to me, I think Academy Choice did more running than he did last time.
I agree with you, but I will say something about Waffler. He broke a step slow, and Joel eased him in the stretch. I
Okay.
mean, he was getting nothing, but he was eased. So I understand that, but at least, and I agree with you, Academy Choice did more running in the course of the race. But Waffler, to me, was a horse that there's plenty of turf pedigree on this horse. And I just wonder if switching back 6 furlongs, maybe Dave's saying, I thought he had a little ability. I'm going to try him shorter or something, and I want to give him a chance. I love the Temple Cities. So I thought he was a little more interesting in here. I don't think Academy Choice is impossible. Did you have any opinion on any of the others? I know, like, David liked 41 Tails. Did you have an opinion on this horse?
Okay.
It's not
This
really
was
a
a
turf
horse.
pedigree.
It's not a turf pedigree at all.
Oh.
He's a very. I remember him in the paddock clearly. He was the best looking horse that day, but he was incredibly green, and just did a lot of things wrong pre-race, during the race, but now we're dropping in for. It's not like he took money that day either, but I wanted to take him when I looked at this race, and then I dug into the pedigree, and they're just.
I mean, 40
It's
Tails
just
is
not
tail
a
of the cat,
strong
but it's not.
pedigree, and he hasn't produced that many turf horses.
When is the last time you saw Wheel Away in a horse's pedigree? Do you remember Wheel Away, or is he before your time?
I mean, I remember him
Do you know
because
who
Mig wrote him.
Right. I was staying with Mig for about a week or so down in Florida when he was riding down there. And in the few minutes that we weren't playing Gallop Racer, and there weren't too many of them, he was telling me all week how Wheel Away couldn't lose. He's riding a maiden race, and he won. We thought he was going to win the Belmont. I think he got hurt in there. He
Yeah.
actually took the lead top of the stretch against Fu Peg in the Derby.
He was like a big,
Yeah.
rangy bay horse.
He was a good
Dark
horse.
bay horse, yeah.
He was a good horse. He had issues, but he
Yeah.
was pretty good. I just can't. I mean, you look at the day. I just can't remember seeing Wheel Away in a
No,
pedigree.
I know. Well,
in
this
forever.
this is a dam that this ownership group
Yep.
and Rodrigo Ubillo
Yep.
train. Now Rodrigo is
He's
Phil
back
Serby's
working for Phil, right? He was
Right.
Phil's assistant before he went his own, and now he's back. Yep.
So, yeah, there's a half that went 1 for 17 on the turf, but was that enough to sway me in his direction?
Not
No.
me either, but I think that we can both agree we're not going to be shocked by any result in this race.
No.
Race number 5 is the first division of the Stallion Stakes. This is the spectacular bid division, and I thought this was an interesting race, and I think the 7
Very.
furlongs is always important
Mm-hmm.
in these races because you look at 26 Black, and I think the first question you have to ask yourself is not whether or not he's good enough, because his last race was huge, but whether or not you're confident. And I know he's a war dancer, but are you really confident he's going to be as good with the extra furlong? A lot of times they aren't.
I actually think he could be.
I mean, I think he could be too.
I-
I'm not confident. I always worry about that.
But I just thought I thought this was possibly the toughest race that he's running in. Like,
Oh, for
this
sure.
division has legitimately talented turf horses in it, whereas the fillies, there's some guesswork to be done.
They're
There's
mostly
no
dirt
superstar.
horses that might
Right.
be okay in the turf. That
Right.
have improved.
These
but
are turf horses.
Right, I agree.
And and look, winning by 4 3/4 lengths like he did last time, you saw kind of eased up by Manny Franco. I'm not saying he's not the horse to beat,
he is the horse to beat.
but almost as you were alluding to in these 7 furlong races, you almost want the turn back more than you
I
want
would.
the stretch
I
out.
agree. I rather
Yeah.
have the horses that are more effective at a mile
Mhm.
than the 6s, because a lot of the 6s just don't have the same kind of explosiveness
Yeah.
that they do at 6. And especially being that he's going to be favored in here, you can talk about a horse we both picked on top, Ramblin' Wreck.
Do note that Ramblin' Wreck is a first-time gelding for this race. Coming back off the layoff, I looked at stats for Danny Gargan. It's not a huge sample, but 6-month-plus layoff on the turf. He's 30% with a positive ROI. Obviously, there's a lovely pedigree. Him being a half to Dakota Gold, who is a very talented turf horse, and. If you go back to his last turf race, Andy, which was in the Central Park, I thought he actually ran sneaky good.
So did I.
He got to save ground that day.
Yep.
He had to wait, and then he went to switch out. Then he had to switch back inside, and he really ran on well between horses. And I just feel like he's been in tougher spots than what this is.
This is why I hate the short comments. I don't believe he was ever 5 to 4 wide at any point in the race.
No, he
but that it's just the way they draw. It
Yeah.
just has nothing to do with the kind of trip he had.
No,
I mean, I totally
exactly.
agree with
Yeah.
you. He had. I mean, I think it'd be nice if it just said altered course stretch or something, just
2
so
times or something.
people who want to
Yeah.
watch replays might watch and say, "What did he do?" And I always feel like the short comment in a perfect world is a way of alerting people this might be a replay I want to watch. And I
Yeah,
know that you and
yeah,
I do that.
yeah.
We look for them, and there's nothing to say there that you want to see it. And it's very,
feel you.
it just those where the perceived wides top of the stretch are relevant because, as you said, he spent the important parts of the race down on the inside in there. But I agree with you. I thought, and I think you look at his 2-year-old figures, and he's running 2-year-old figures that are that aren't even that much slower than the horses in this race,
Yeah.
and he could easily show that improvement going forward. But as far as Vacation Dance, and I'm just going to go back and show the Atlantic Beach from last year as his best finish. I haven't got back to him. Obviously, the times are wrong in his last race. They didn't go 21 and 3 and 45 in the bog. That
Did
was
you find
with
out
pouring rain.
how fast they did go?
No, that chart has to be corrected. That's one of the few that I didn't speak to Ellis about to get them to get the. Usually they're on top of it too, but obviously those fractions have to be inaccurate. And it's been an issue with the turf racing without Trackus of backing up and getting the right fractions. There have been a lot of turf. I don't trust any of the fractions on inner turf, mile and 16th and mile and 8th races in particular anymore. Different rail settings. I don't know what it is, but I know we've been around too long to believe some of the fractions we've seen at a mile and 16th in those races. It's just weird. I mean, isn't there an argument that this horse is getting the needed class relief here?
Oh, yes.
I mean, we bit the race the same way, but this horse was running against some better horses.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, he ran against running with scissors.
And honestly, I do think the 7 furlongs is probably his right trip, too. But
he hasn't gone forward.
He has not gone forward.
But he was wide against a good rail against older horses' return, and then he caught a bog in his next race. So I'm not sure I'm ready to condemn him just yet. You know what I mean? You could give him legitimate excuses why he has, but then on the other hand, he had the run of the race at the Atlantic Beach. He was down on the inside. But he still ran pretty well in the futurity, and those were 2-year-old races. So I think today is the day for him to put up or shut up.
Yeah.
He may not win, but today's the day he needs to run a figure in the mid-80s or low to mid-80s to show he can still do it.
I know, but just watching his races, I feel like there's a lack of will for some. He just doesn't lower himself in the stretch. He just doesn't go on with it. He just seems to idle in the stretch a bit now. So I don't know. He'll beat me. I'm not totally against him. As you mentioned, we have him third. I respect him in a way.
Today is his day. He needs to step it up today. Gem Mint 10 will take some money, and I do think he ran okay in the context of the race last time. He was forwardly placed. The winner came back and ran horrifically badly. Sell Something, who was third, came back and didn't do any running. And I know that Racehorse has been running well. I got to feel, I mean, listen, based on that fig, he's a contender here. I want to see it again.
I agree with you. He's another one, though, that the 7 furlongs, I think, probably suits him perfectly. But I don't trust that race that he comes out of.
All right. That's the first 5. Megan will be back with the late pick 4 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back. Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Serling, and a happy Father's Day. Race number 6. I know this is the race that you have been waiting for all day. And we both went to Lucky Luke. We'll show his 3rd place finisher going back to February. And for people that are wondering, Jamie Begg is filling in for Rob Atras, who was on, I believe, a 10-day suspension.
Yes.
And he's taken over the barn during the suspension. New gelding, I don't know. He was running races in the winter. I just think they were better than the horses he's running against. But you do have to be a little worried about the drop, the layoff and the drop, right?
I agree, but
not much of a layoff,
really, I don't know. He does return as a new gelding, and let me tell you, he is one that needed to be gelded. He's very distracted. In a lot of his races beforehand. And 2, even that last dirt race, he made this like wide move. Granted, they went slow, so it wasn't as bad.
Has the winner of that race come back? That
no.
was that Clement horse that ran a humongous race that day. I don't think he's run since then.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't. And I just... And 2, I think this one turn's probably best for him as well. So and there's just nobody else you
There's
wanted.
Just nobody else you're supposed to take in here.
And then
I mean, you got we'll look at Steady Progress and Old Point. I mean, haven't we just had enough of Old Point?
I can't.
He's just been awful in his races. He was terrible in this race. The winner of the race was a Mark Hennick horse that was 13-1 that
Won.
had absolutely no form whatsoever
Yeah.
coming into the race. And you
Great
look at
horse
Steady
there.
Progress, who finished second in here. I can't take these horses.
He never gets out of the gate. He runs with his head up in
Yep.
the air, his tail out. He's just, no, he is not my type. And
I bet the
You want
speed
in-
horse in this race, Kendrick rode him. I think it was Atris.
it was Atris. It was,
He finishes
Wait a minute.
fourth here. He was walking on the front end. Old Point got left.
I
Oh my-
thought
was he
I
awful?
thought
He
Rob's
couldn't lose.
horse
Could not lose.
'Cause
Couldn't lose.
I
He
was
didn't even
so
hit the
against
try.
Old Point,
He
and
didn't
then he
even
just
hit
went,
the try. He
"Ugh."
just stopped.
Yeah.
I forgot that was the race.
Yep,
I mean,
I
I guess
felt the same way.
the wise guy horses are, you look at, are Union Tap and Mr. Moore because they've never been in the dirt.
Yeah.
I would probably lean more, obviously, towards Union Tap, but it's IRAD, so he's going to get over betting
Yep.
there. He has at least a more of a dirt family. I mean, Mr. Moore, I mean, it's Rise Guy Roy Lehrman. Maybe he's been, setting him up to win this race in the dirt, but somehow I don't think so because he's
No.
just. Let me tell you something. Roy is about as sharp at cashing
No,
the bet as anybody.
you're not wrong there.
But I mean, I just think this horse is just.
There is more dirt pedigree with Mr. Moore.
Yeah, but I ain't saying much, man.
No, there's not much
I don't see a lot of
pedigree,
Lido
but-
Palaces either, and Lido Palace is the damn
No,
side.
that's true. But
He
all
was
the
good.
siblings were better on dirt in very modest races.
Better than.
Yeah, Union Tap, as you said, playing a dirt pedigree. Turf to dirt, maiden claiming John Kimmel, 5 for, what is that, 31? But dropping by 50%, 2 for 4. Ooh.
Well, I mean, he's a Union Rags. Frankly, I mean, maybe he just can't
That's
run at
the
all.
funniest
What is this horse
thing
doing on dirt
about
turf
all
the whole
Union
time?
Rags, right? Is that they do not work well in the morning. So everybody's like, well, I guess I just gotta try them on the turf. But really, at the end of the day, they're better dirt horses. Somebody giving you inside information?
Aragona's telling me that there's an argument that those fractions are correct in the Paradise Creek.
I was going to say it, but you were going to say, oh,
You
you're
can
just
say
making
it.
an excuse for Tom's horse.
Oh, I didn't know Tom had a horse in the race. You're so paranoid. She's so sick.
12 years with you. I'd say I would deserve
I have
to
no.
be.
You think I remember that Tom had a horse in the Paradise Creek? I'm lucky to
Yeah.
remember my name on most days.
I know.
I remember
No,
what's in the
okay,
PPs on
so
a given day, and that's about
all right,
it. in
Going
my
back
life.
to that Paradise Creek, all of those horses literally just fell in a heap. And how many times
Who was
when it's
Tom's
a buck,
horse in there?
Son of a Birch. There was a three-way pastel. He was in
Yeah,
the middle of it.
Okay.
And all of those horses,
Just fell
except for
apart.
Tom's, he actually ran well.
Okay.
Go back and watch.
Where is he? Is he an ascot?
Son of a Birch? Yeah, we're running him in the same gym.
He's running. He's
It was
running. He's the
actually-
pace setter for Classic Causeway and the Prince of Wales.
Um,
It's AJ's Palace for him.
and they all
right?
fell in a heap. And most often when you have bog-type races, they're one on the front end.
Yes.
And that race
That race
completely
collapsed.
collapsed.
I agree. Okay. All right. And obviously, David, I mean, as he said, it's sort of a little tough to trust looking at it on face value. But
They
it
feel
may
a
be
little
correct.
fast, but I don't think they're that off.
Well, I'm going to tell you, even Chad Brown has given up on making Union Rags into a turf sire. Finally, after more abuse from me than anyone's ever taken, I used to just torment
No, but
him.
that's what it is. They don't. They work
work bad on the
horribly
dirt.
in the mornings on
'Cause they're
dirt,
slow.
and then you just say, "Well, okay, I'll just put them on turf to see what I got here," and then at the end of the day, there are just better dirt horses.
He's like a 2%. He's got a terrible raised turf sire.
Oh, horrible!
Right.
Yeah, I mean he's lucky to be 4.
All right, race number 7. Race number 7 is kind of an amusing race when you look at it in a lot of ways. And I want to start by talking about crowding out. And this is a funny spot for crowding out off a claim in a turf race to run him going long. Now, he's obviously going to have the lead in here. He's a quick horse. But he's got IRAD and he's a turf sprinter. Isn't he just going to be an underlay in here?
Yeah. There's nothing.
I
there's
could never bet
nothing
this horse going
about her that says she wants to go long. Look, if Chad Brown.
Chad Brown didn't want to run her
didn't
going
want to
long.
Run her long, and Chad, for the most part, isn't the biggest turf sprinting fan.
No, exactly. Well,
And-
is a street boss. I mean, I love Street Boss. I think he's
I
a
do too.
really
I think
cool
he's
under the radar
so
sire.
Underrated, versatile sire. And some of them do go long, but there's nothing about this horse, at least physically, that, I mean, she's as broad as she is tall. She is all sprinter, at least physically. Now, maybe Irad's able to nurse her along there on the lead, but don't you think that, I mean, I know she's clear here, but Home for Christmas is a horse that can't run a lick if she's not near the lead. Aren't they going to try a little bit with her from the outside?
Oh, I agree. She's supposed to be sitting second or third, and is supposed to be sitting in Hellings. I like Home for Christmas in this race. She had a big trip in her first start. She actually ran okay in there, relatively speaking.
She
Last
did,
time was
and
not
then-
good.
I agree.
She was
But
bad
it
last
was
time.
it could have been better horses, obviously.
They
than
were
what
better
she
horses,
meets
but she
here.
was bad at it.
She was bad.
But you've
I
taken
didn't like
Stella
her, but-
Mars, and I'll tell you something else about Stella Mars, and we'll show this race go back at a mile 16th. And listen, she ran well enough to win here. I'm still not convinced that she's really as good. I think she's better going shorter.
She's probably
And that's why I
7
took home for
miles.
Christmas. I like her going the most going longer.
I'm not going to
She's the other.
discount that.
There's two major players if you
Yeah.
don't like crowding out, the 1 and 9. If you
Yeah.
take somebody else, good luck.
Yeah, and too, I thought it was interesting putting Katie Davis on Home for Christmas because she is a filly mare that has a very light mouth. She's very tricky. And how good is Katie with these kind of light-mouthed horses? We have some young fans.
It's your
Andy.
fan. It's the Maggie Wolfendale
love that-
fan club.
They were banging on
Were
the
they
glasses.
were they at the
going
horse
to-
show yesterday watching you jump? Maggie's
No.
got some video, by the way. I've been privy
I took
to.
video for this. And I actually like Katie getting aboard. I mean, look at what she's done with Daddy Knows, a horse
Yep.
that at worst will bolt with a rider. And even that horse, Lady of Thoroton, that you liked, very light mouth filly.
She owes me nothing.
So I think it's interesting getting Katie aboard. I just don't. I'm not Home for Christmas's biggest fan.
I
have
never
her
was.
second,
I never was
but-
either. I just thought she was more. I thought she was the more proficient horse going longer. But I don't have a big argument between the 9 and 1. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the two horses in here. I took one, you took the other one.
Yeah.
I don't think any big story in it.
Head-to-head
And if crowding
matchup.
out wins this race going long, I mean, I get
give
you know
up.
using her on the bottom and pick 5s. These horses, it's like you weren't here, but. That turf sprinter of Larry Goichman's that TT had, Mike Maker took over the training, and they tried to stretch her out the other day,
Yeah.
and
who
she
is
just
that?
stopped. I forget. Good horse. Just forgot her
I'm
name.
blanking.
It's an odd spot for Mike. So the New York Stallion, the
Yeah.
Cupicoy's Joy. Cupicoy's Joy was a Bob Perez horse that, aside from winning the Mother Goose a lot of races, she also ran the Preakness.
Oh yeah.
I think there was something in the story, and it's a
That's
long
right.
time ago, that had to do with wanting to get a table at the Preakness.
I
There's
think I
some
remember
story
you telling me
involved.
this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Anthony would remember it
Yeah.
absolutely. But it was, she was a very, very good horse. Alfredo Callejas trained her. So Stolen Future, and I think that's the beginning of the conversation is. How confident are you that she's going to be as effective going the 7 furlongs as we take a look at her last race?
I
Because she's
know.
way the horse to beat in here.
I know. She's a little bit of a pet of mine. I know that's weird. She's a horse I've only seen twice. And I mean, she did a lot of the dirty work, matched to the tunes, was able to close down the middle of the racetrack, finally get that elusive second win. But I don't know. I like this filly, Andy.
She's a horse to beat.
She at least physically looks as though the 7's not going to be too much of a stretch for her. So that gives me a little bit of confidence. And I just think she's a nice filly that I'm going to take my shot with her.
I have no problem with it. I don't, that race was dominated forward, so that kind of bothered me a little bit, but I'm not against her. I had to take Joey Big Nose in here.
What?
The
I didn't see it with her.
Well, she ran very well last time. Now,
She
she may not
did.
be good enough to win this race, but she was right on top of a wicked pace that collapsed, and she really held extremely well in there. I mean, she's a completely different horse in the turf than
I
she
mean,
was
I
in the
thought
dirt.
she'd like the turf.
Yeah, well, we all talked about it. We all
Yeah.
if that Miss Christie hadn't run, I would have won a fortune in that race.
Oh, that was a dirty
Because,
beat.
yeah,
none of us liked Miss
that
Christie
was she was
and Sabelli.
yeah, Jane Sabelli.
Yeah.
David liked her. I did not like her.
I didn't like her.
But
I think I picked Joey Big Nose
the
along
favorite
with
was
you.
third, I think, a no excuse third.
Annihilate,
But,
yeah, she ran
but
terribly.
The
That's the
second one was
thing.
first time on the turf, and this horse was. I don't know that she's probably not good enough to win this race, but she's not that far from it. And she's 20-1 morning line, and people are going to see her looking cheap. And I mean, there's no guarantee on this race that too many horses can handle the turf.
Right, that's what we were talking about with the spectacular bid division, and that this one, it feels like there's a lot more guesswork, a lot more randomness could occur, and so I'm not gonna. I don't particularly like her, but I am gonna applaud you if you get her home here.
Well, I'm going to try to get her
but I'm not
somewhere
gonna
in
be
there and
surprised
exactas and
either.
tries. And you've got Campakila second. Okay.
I just want to see her run a little bit further. I feel like she's a horse that wants a little bit more ground than
But
these
she was
5.5,
on the
6.
pace last time, and
I
she's the
know.
only horse that was involved in that pace that fell apart.
Yeah.
That bothered me.
Yeah, I hear you.
And don't you want to see her run a little better in New York? Though she ran fine in a turf race at Saratoga at 5.5.
I agree. She bothered me last time with her performance on the racetrack, but I
bothered me.
liked her pre-race, and so I just kind of want to give her another shot here.
And her prior races are all good enough to be effective in here and even win this race.
That's the thing, and I think the 7 furlongs actually really does suit her. She ran well going a mile down at the fairgrounds, which that turf course this year has been, this past season had been
sad.
a little bit.
It's really sad.
I know. So I'm just going to give her. Don't you think Little Lindsay's a little interesting? Getting back to the turf?
Oh, I think they all are. We'll show the dirt race last time. I mean, what about Midtown Lights? Isn't she an improved horse, Midtown Lights, since then?
Than what she did.
So,
I just didn't think and look, she's out of an exchange rate.
I have her 5th. I'm not.
Um,
Here's my problem with Little Lindsay. That
Go.
79 buyer in a debut
Doesn't hold up.
is like fantasy land.
Correct. Souffle. Yeah.
Right.
They haven't been.
So
But
don't-
I think she's a turf horse.
she might be, and she certainly ran well in here, so maybe she is improved. And Le Bon Temps. I mean, she's got enough turf pedigree that she could handle the turf, and all of these horses sort of have been running good enough races, so I'm not going to be surprised when either Little Lindsay or Le Bon Temps or even Midtown Lights are effective in here. But the thing is, they're going to be bet off dirt racing.
I'm going to tell you my problem with Midtown Lights is that, one, I don't think she looks like a turf horse. Doesn't mean anything necessarily. As you said, she's gotten better. But last time, I thought for sure she'd run better because she's an
She was awful.
incredibly nervous horse. And I thought for the first time since she would be able to run out of her own stall here at Belmont, it would be like a transformation. And I saw she was relaxed, but I saw nothing on the racetrack that, correlated to that. So I just don't trust her.
There's also, if you look at her buyer speed figures, she's got an arc, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
she's on the downward slide in her arc, so
Yep.
that's a bit of a concern.
Yep.
I'm not as worried about what she did in the turf earlier in her career because she can improve on that.
I'm not.
Her recent form. What about Red Moon, the weird New York bred that foolishly was run at Turf Paradise? I mean, I know she actually did some running last time, and she doesn't really have a ton of turf pedigree, but I'm not convinced she couldn't run okay
It's more
here.
of a synthetic pedigree, at least on the bottom side. And like the Redesdales, obviously there's a bunch of Redesdales, and we both pick a Redesdale in the boys division. So, yeah, there's reason to believe that she could run well here.
It'd be a little interesting. I
yeah.
just thought a price.
What,
I'm going to go price
10 to
hunting
1?
in this race.
All right.
And then
Cool.
there's the 9th. And this is the race that Maggie and I have been really waiting for the entire day to talk about. And I know,
Going with another Wesley Ward drop down.
yeah, we'll discuss that horse, who's going to be a crazy favorite. Why don't we talk about Alibi Ike first?
Okay.
I mean, I will say in his first turf start, his only dirt start, he broke a couple lengths slow. He did have some trouble in that race. And
I couldn't get past our favorite 3-year-old sprinter finishing second in that race.
I know, Rivet,
It's the best.
Rivet. I love Rivet. He won the Chick Lang.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I imagine maybe we'll see him in the Amsterdam for Steve.
Has to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of Rivet.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm not against him. I don't know. It just feels like it's Irad and Wesley,
Don't you
and he's going to
think-
be 6-5.
It kind of, yeah, totally. Total cop-out pick here, I feel like. But I couldn't warm up to anybody else in here. I thought about putting Brass Monkey on top.
We'll
You
show Brass
picked
Monkey's
Huey.
last dirt race.
Because Brass Monkey does feel, if you kind of, you don't have to ignore the turf race. It wasn't really that bad. But I just feel like he's gotten better with racing, and now he's back at a level where he can be competitive, and it's a second start for Bob Caceres, who, I mean, his horses are running fine here at the meet. So he's kind of the priced one I wanted to use. I couldn't. Huey, you're going with the ex-Wesley Ward horse. I mean,
I like the name.
that was
Can I use that as my
four-horse
angle for
field.
picking
That
him?
was terrible. He just stopped. He was done.
He was
you know,
awful. But his debut wasn't bad.
It wasn't, but what Wesley was saying here.
I don't know. I took Linda as the alternative in there. I thought he ran well enough first time out. Obviously, last time was a complete disaster. Maybe he can't run at all. It does seem like Linda does okay with these horses. It wasn't a strong opinion. I just felt like this horse had less opportunity to prove that he stinks and maybe he could run better. But I don't have any confidence. And don't you think Alibi Ike's going to be 6-5 or even money in here?
Oh, no.
It's like David
He's definitely
can't
gonna
make
be.
these IRAD horses low enough.
No, I know. Oh, he'll
And
he'll be
I
shorter
don't
than
blame
2
him for
to
making
1,
him
that's
2
for
to
sure.
1.
Yeah.
But I think even he's thinking,
Yeah.
he'll probably
he
be.
knows.
And he's kind of a Wesley Ward just castaway. But he'll probably win this race.
Yeah. I just felt like, well, maybe there's been ability shown there because they've taken their time. They've tried different surfaces. Whereas, you go to Hui, there's just like,
So
have it.
I
First
like
time
the
out.
name isn't to go. I thought his first race was good
Dude,
enough
that's
to win here.
how I learned to read and made my first
what?
had my first $50 winner
Wait, how did you
reading the program and picking names I liked
really?
when I was
You
5.
graduated from that?
A little bit.
Maybe not.
Just a
Maybe
little
she's
bit.
still picking names and she's been conning us all these years. You know that David picked Alpha Sunny in here, by the way?
I looked long and hard. So the pedigree on the bottom really isn't the damn one early. The 4 foals
He's
to run,
just
4
mad
winners.
that I got Dalton Brown home and he didn't
He
pick
is
the horse
trying
earlier.
to chase
So
in your
he's chasing
footsteps.
me to
Yeah.
get Dalton Brown home.
I-
I know he's
but
such a liar. I know
4-year-old.
he knows that the only reason he picked this horse is he has got the envy of me getting Dalton Brown ahead of him. Because
Yeah.
he's ready to take these guys at all time. And, I wish Dalton all the best of luck. He's got a couple winners. He's got that winner, that big price winner at Aqueduct as well that I
Yeah.
also tried that did not win. All right. It was fun, as it always is.
Happy
And
Father's Day.
Yes, happy
Seriously.
Father's Day to everybody that joined us and everybody that's home as well. Got that fun giveaway that I'm not pulling up because then Maggie will attack me and grab it from me. We've got to leave it up here on the set anyway. All right, head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code BONUS200 and we will match with $200 of your initial deposit. We have middle pick 4. I mean, gotta love the middle pick 4. Race number 3 on our 9-race card. 2, 3, and 6 for the pick 4s. We have the free to play, free-to-play.nairabets.com. 5,000 hit and split. It's the late pick 5 here in Monmouth, 2,500 each. Opt in at Naira Bets, and you'll be eligible as well. And to let people know, we will give you the schedule for the show today. It is 1 to 1:30 on FS2, then 3:30 to 5:30 on FS2, with an hour from 4 to 5 on FS1. We'll be on S&Y from 1:30 to 4. Also, Bally Sports SoCal 3 to 5:30. And if you don't have those, you can go to YouTube if you're missing the time
Or
on
Naira Bets.
FS2. If you got all that, if you followed all that, you're smarter than we are. We're done. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the day. Johnny I, just getting started.
The Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every